Hari Om. I would request everyone to please settle down. God in every particle. Our ancients had no doubt about this, and so God was very obviously an all-pervading entity for them. With all due respect, Dr. Partho Ghosh, may I dare to say that it took a while for the scientists to come, perhaps to a somewhat similar conclusion when they collided high energy particles to finally discover in 2012 the so-called Higgs boson particle. This particle is said to be fundamental and transfers mass to all other particles. Envisaged almost as the cause of the universe, it is popularly called the God's particle. Till a few centuries earlier, science and spirituality were sworn enemies. Over the past few decades, the relationship has evolved, and one wonders if both are moving towards the same truth, but from different directions. Is it not necessary for the material scientist and the spiritual saints, who may be called the subjective scientists, to embrace each other for the world to truly become one family? We look forward to a very insightful session with a very distinguished panel. I now call upon Swami Mitrananda as a moderator to please take the stage. Swamiji is a direct disciple of Gurudev Swami Chinmaya and has been associated with the mission from his childhood. Mentor and convener of Chinmaya Mission Chennai and Northeast India, Swamiji has initiated the movement of youth empowerment programs. Swamiji is a creative writer, a daring adventurer, and vigilant administrator, and has traveled across 35 countries to impart the wisdom of Gita, Upanishads, and other Vedantic texts. He was part of Team Chinmaya in aiding Government of Gujarat in creating 21 lessons on Bhagavad Gita as part of curriculum, and also involved in writing new history books for classes 6, 7 and 8, namely Radiant Bharat, Resilient Bharat and Resurgent Bharat. He is working as a mentor for the project on Adi Shankara coming up at Omkareshwar, including writing the script for the movie on the great saint that will be produced by the government of Madhya Pradesh. Pranam Swamiji and welcome.
We would like to invite Srimati Archana Raghuram as the first speaker of the session. Archana Raghuram is the former CEO of United Way Chennai and a YouTuber who has been running her channel Temples, Books and Science for the past 3 years. Her channel covers a range of topics including Hindu philosophy, temples, science and books, and has over 21,000 subscribers. Archana ji has won numerous awards for her work in corporate social responsibility, including the Forbes India Philanthropy Award and recognition as one of the 100 most creative people in business by Fast Company. She has also spoken at TEDx Hindustan University on the art of volunteering. Archana ji is a BE Computer Science graduate and completed an executive management program on sustainable business and corporate responsibility from the Swedish Institute. She is a frequent contributor to the Life Positive magazine and writes articles on philosophy and life skills. Welcome, Archana ji.
I would now request Shri L. Ramaswamy, very well known Acharya of Vedanta Institute, to please join us on stage. Shri L. Ramaswamy ji is a senior disciple of Swami Parthasarthi, a renowned philosopher and spiritual guide. After completing his graduation in commerce, he worked with N.R. Kumar and Company, a management consulting firm in Chennai, for 2 years. Thereafter, Shri Ramaswamy dedicated over 24 years to studying Vedanta philosophy under the guidance of his guru, Swami Parthasarathi. Since February 2002, he has been stationed in Kolkata and is actively involved in spreading the knowledge of Vedanta through study classes, discussion groups, and corporate workshops. He is a research scholar and the executive trustee of Vedanta Academy in Kolkata. Sri Ramaswamyji's efforts have made him a prominent figure in the local spiritual community. Welcome, Swamiji.
We would like to invite Swami Suddhananda Giriji of Yogananda Ashram. Swami Suddhanandaji graduated as an electrical engineer from IIT Chennai in 1975. Then he joined Bhabha Atomic Research Center, BARC, in Mumbai. After serving in BARC for 5 years as a part of the team conducting research on plasma physics, he felt the call to dedicate his life wholly to the spiritual path. He joined Yogoda Satsanga Society of India as a monastic disciple of Shri Paramahansa Yogananda. Since 1980, Swami Suddhanandaji has been living in YSS ashrams in Ranchi, Dakshineshwar, and Noida. Swamiji is a member of YSS Board of Directors and serves as the treasurer of YSS. Swamiji has traveled all over India and abroad in order to disseminate the how to live and Kriya Yoga teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Welcome, Swamiji. Before beginning the session, we thank the session sponsors, the TNI group. May I request Swami Mitrananda ji to please come on the stage and felicitate Shri Vinit Bagaria ji representing TNI group. We now request Swamiji to felicitate all our speakers. Thank you so much, Swamiji. With this, we request you to take over the session.
Checking. Samasta jana kalyane niratham karunamayam namami chenmayam devam satgurum brahmavitvaram. My salutations to fellow panelists and to everyone present here, pranam. This beautiful statement, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, is it a statement of praise? Is it a statement made to maintain harmony among us? Or is it a statement born out of human intellect? Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a statement of fact. Just like sugar is sweet is a statement of fact. Fire is hot is a statement of fact. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a statement of fact. These statements are not born from human intellect. These statements reveal themselves when the human intellect becomes silent. When a person reaches a level of stillness, such lovely statements gets downloaded from the divine. You understand? So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a divine download. It's not born out of a thinking mind. It was downloaded to a mind when it stopped thinking. When the mind became quiet, there it got downloaded from the divine. Vedic mantras are divine downloads. They have come from the divine, they are not born out of human mind. So it is a statement of fact. It is not a statement of praise. How is it a statement of fact? Let's say there is a lump of gold. From gold, whatever pieces of gold you take and make an ornament, be it a ring, be it a chain, be it a bracelet, it is all gold. From gold, only gold can come. From iron, only iron can come. From gold, iron cannot come. From gold, copper cannot come. From gold, bronze cannot come. From gold, only gold comes. From divine, only divinity comes. From divine, what comes out has to be divine. So from him, the divine, whatever has come is divine. So our scriptures clearly tells us the creator is divine, the created is divine. This should sink in. Not just the creator is divine. If we say only the creator is divine, we keep him far away somewhere, and this we can do what we want. No. The creator is divine, the created is divine. From the creator, whatever has manifested is divine. This is a statement of fact. From gold, only gold can come. Similarly, from divine, only divine can come. So you and I, the flower and the bird and the fish in the ocean, a plant, an ant, anything you see is divine. So for a Hindu, what is God? What is God? Ramana Maharishi. This is a beautiful line by Ramana Maharishi. What is God? What is God? Do you understand? What is God? What is, whatever is God. Clear? From this understanding, which our rishis got it, and they gave it to us without any patent. None of the Vedic mantras are patented. You understand? They did not even leave their name behind, because what they received, they felt must be shared with the world. It would help everybody. So India's position of power or India's reach to the world is never to conquer. It is always to enlighten. Please understand. Not to conquer, but to enlighten. So this G20 is an opportunity for us to enlighten some of our own extension in the forms of another 19 countries, to tell them the creator and the created are divine. Whatever is God. What is God? What is God. This has to go. If this message reaches out, we would take care of everything. the planet would be protected. We would not go into the destruction of what is happening as climate change. All that would be taken care because that is also divine. So with a prayerful, worshipful attitude, we will take care. In the third chapter of the Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, Parasparam Bhavayantaha. You take care of Devas, Devas in turn will take care of you. Parasparam, mutually taking care of each other, nourishing each other. May you attain highest, Paramavapsyata. Whatever is the highest, may you reach. Like what? Supporting each other. Parasparam. Devas means who? Surya, the sun, Varuna, the rain, Vayu, the wind, and it goes. Agni, the natural forces, the nature, we call it Deva. They are manifestations seen as God. One aspect of it. So you take care of the Devas, Devas in turn will take care of you. Don't try to conquer Devas. You don't conquer your mother, you worship your mother. Mother Earth. I'm going to conquer Earth. You want to go conquer your mother? That was not our approach. Our approach to Earth was worship, revere. It's a different notion which came somewhere a few hundred years ago. Let's conquer. No, we worship. So Devas, you take care, they in turn will take care. This statement of fact has to reach other parts of the world for a better earth. And in this aspect, we were always a leader of thought. Bharat was a leader of thought. We had universities here when no one else had. Now you understand the idea of Vishwaguru, because we have something other parts of the world need to know about it. And we have a role to play. And our Prime Minister brilliantly chose the motto for G20 nations, a statement of fact, a divine download called Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Now, we are going to discuss how this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is seen through the eyes of science. What does quantum physics, how does science prove this is all one? How do we understand this? Probably through cellular biology. All this is one. So that's the idea of this session, where science and spirituality combined, we see the same statement of truth. One you understood through mantra shakti, through stillness of the mind, and we are now trying to go through the science, understand the same through the intellect. So our first speaker, Archana ji from Chennai, she would speak to us Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam through the lens of quantum physics. Down the rabbit hole. Then I request, we'll just go sit down. After presentation will come up.
While they're putting up the presentation, first I would like to bow down to Dr. Ghosh. It is very unnerving to talk about quantum physics in presence of such an expert on the subject. I hope you will forgive any mistakes I make, sir. So, quantum physics and Vedanta, you find it often quoted. People, when they talk about Vedanta, they do talk about quantum physics. But on the face of it, it looks like such disparate subjects. Vedanta, a millennia-old philosophy, and quantum physics, a modern scientific theory. How can they two meet? Where can there be any meeting point between these two? That's the thought that will cross most of our minds. But as you learn quantum physics, as you understand its fundamental principles, you are struck by the uncanny similarities with Advaita Vedanta. And these similarities are not at a superficial level. The depth of their resonance is simply mind-blowing. So today I want to take you through some of these similarities between quantum physics and Vedanta. Let us first begin with the classical physics view of, okay, there seems to be a problem moving the slide, okay. So if you look at classical physics, Newtonian physics, in that version of physics, consciousness has no role in shaping reality. In classical physics, the whole cosmos is nothing but matter, material entity, governed by certain laws of nature, and consciousness is inconsequential in the functioning of the universe. People like us, conscious beings like us, are just a blip in the vast timeline of the universe. And what quantum physics did was it shattered this notion. It brought consciousness to the very center of reality. And let me tell you how. If you want to understand the fundamental principles of quantum physics, you should know about this experiment. This is called the double slit experiment, and it is this experiment which revealed all the weirdness of reality at a fundamental atomic particle level, how weird reality is and how beyond any logic reality is. This experiment showed to all the scientists. I'm not going to explain the experiment to you because that will take long time, but I just want to tell you what were the findings of this experiment. So while they were doing the experiment, they found something strange. You know, particles like electrons, subatomic particles like electrons, protons, etc. They came into existence only when somebody was observing them. When nobody was looking, they ceased to exist. Just think about it for a second. Only when a conscious entity is looking at them, they had a specific shape, form and properties. They appeared only when someone was observing them, and when nobody was observing, they did not exist. When nobody was observing, what is an electron? You can think of it as a wave, or more precisely, as quantum physicists describe it, you can think of it as existing in all places at once. And it acquires a shape, form and specific location only when someone looks at it. And this was such a weird finding. This was the finding of the fathers of quantum physics, like Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg, who said a particle does not have any real existence until somebody observes it. So this was the conclusion. And in effect, because the entire universe is made up of particles, nothing exists until someone observes it. This is called the observer effect of quantum physics, and this particular interpretation is called the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum physics. Those of us who are familiar with Vedanta, this may not look like a radical concept, but for most scientists, this was beyond belief. This just blew their mind. Even the most brilliant minds, like Einstein, had problem with this conclusion of quantum physics. So he is said to have remarked, "What do you mean? Do you think the moon would not exist when nobody is looking at it? Does this make any sense at all?" At the same time, quantum physics could not be dismissed because it was very accurate in describing the nature of reality. You know, how do you know a theory is accurate? How do you know a theory is good? How well it predicts the working of the world, working of the real world. So Newton had a theory of gravity, which was followed by Einstein's theory of gravity, which was very different from what Newton said. But Einstein's theory was much better at explaining the movements of the planets and stars. So it is a more accurate theory. Similarly, quantum physics was very good, excellent at explaining the functioning of atoms and particles. So it could not be dismissed. So what Einstein said is, I'm not saying quantum physics is wrong, I'm just saying it's incomplete. Quantum physics is missing a very key piece of information, which is why it is looking so strange to us. Particles are appearing and disappearing based on who is observing them. So let me give you an example to explain what he meant. Let's say you're seeing a magician perform a magic trick on stage. So he's cutting somebody into half and putting them together, conjuring up rabbits from his hat. Why does it look like a magic to you? Why does it look like a miracle to you? Because you are not able to see what he is doing behind your back. You're missing a key piece of information because of which it looks like there is a miracle happening. But if we were to go up on stage and he explains to you how he is doing that magic trick, then it will make perfect sense to you. There will be nothing illogical or miraculous about what he is doing. So Einstein's theory was that we are missing some key piece of information because of which reality looks like some miraculous, magicalous, illogical thing. So for a long time, it could not be conclusively proven whether quantum physics was missing some information. Although a lot of predictions of quantum physics, in fact all the predictions, its most weirdest predictions were proven to be correct. More and more it became apparent that quantum physics is one of the best theories we have in describing the nature of reality. But at the same time it was impossible that it could not be categorically proven that we are not missing something which is making it look so weird, until the Nobel Prize winning physicists of 2022 came along. They actually set up an experiment, devised an experiment which proved that there was no missing information. Quantum physics is complete in itself, and it's a perfect description of reality. So, in effect, what they proved is particles don't have any existence until somebody observes it. And a corollary of this proof is that universe is not real. Let me repeat it once more. Those of you who know Vedanta, this will ring a bell to you. Universe is not real. And I don't know why this is not a headline making news, but it is being widely discussed in science circles. This is a Scientific American article which came out after the Nobel Prize was announced. Universe is not locally real, and the Nobel Prize winning physicists proved it. And you can see it being discussed by science nerds and scientists all over the internet. Universe is not real. It's a very exciting proof, isn't it? I'm showing you all this because I don't want you to think I'm making up this fact. This was the actual finding, that universe is not real. Now let us look at the two fundamental principles of quantum physics. Universe is not real, and reality is created by observers. And look at the two fundamental principles of Advaita Vedanta. Universe is not real. It's an illusion. It's a mithya. And the second principle, Sakshi Chaitanyam, the consciousness which creates the universe, is simply an observer. Simply an observer. It's through observation that Brahman creates the universe. We will delve deeper into that concept. Okay? So far I spoke about quantum physics. Let us do a little analysis of Advaita Vedanta. So if universe is not real, what is real? There must be something which is real, which is creating all this, right? So what Advaita says is only reality is consciousness. The entire universe is nothing but pure consciousness. The universe arises in consciousness, is sustained by consciousness, and resolves into consciousness. And this consciousness is called Brahman. That is called Brahman in Vedanta. So again, like quantum physics, this is a very difficult concept to understand. So Advaita gives a very interesting analogy to explain the relationship between Brahman and universe. So it gives the analogy of a dream, swapna. So when you are dreaming, and what happens in your sleep while dreaming, you're creating this huge universe, mountains, rivers, rocks, oceans. So that is very similar to how Brahman creates this universe, just springing up from the consciousness. So if you examine the relationship between your dream and you can understand the relationship between the consciousness principle Brahman and the universe. So let us examine three key relationships between you and your dream. First, the first relationship is your dream exists within you. So you are this tiny little person in this bed, but what is happening? You are dreaming of galaxies, stars, mountains, rivers, millions of people. All of them exist within you. It's created by you, sustained by you, and it resolves into you. The same is the relationship between Brahman and the universe. The second relationship is that all the inanimate things in your dream are also the products of your consciousness. So one question that may arise is, the whole universe is consciousness, then why is most of the universe inert? Why are all the planets, stars, space, nothing is appearing conscious, right? It's only tiny little people like us in one very small corner of the universe who have consciousness. You can see it is happening every day in your dream. You are creating so many things in your dream. You are dreaming of stars, desks, rooms, none of which are conscious, but they are products of your consciousness. They are purely made up of your consciousness. Then the third relationship, the relationship which is most important for us to understand the resonance with quantum physics, is this. So what do you actually do to create your dream? Are you planning where all the things are and bringing material and putting it in your head? No. The only thing that makes your dream happen is that you witness it. You are seeing your dream. You're doing nothing else. So let me ask you a question. Can anything exist in your dream which you don't see? The question itself is wrong, because things exist in your dream because you see it. Let's say you're dreaming about the stars, planets, galaxies, and next minute you're dreaming about this room with all these people and this screen. So what happened to the stars and the galaxies? They are tucked away somewhere? No, they cease to exist. The only reason anything exists in your dream is because you see it, and what you don't see does not exist. It is your seeing that lends existence to the entire dream universe. The same is true about Brahman. Brahman, who creates the universe, is simply the witness, the consciousness, who observes and brings the universe into existence. And anything that exists in the dream exists because Brahman is witnessing it. That is the reason the whole universe exists. So now you can see how the two that's why Brahman is called Sakshi Chaitanyam, and how the two fundamental principles of Advaita Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta and quantum physics both say the same thing. Universe is not real, and observer creates the universe. Not only are these similarities so striking, I want to take you one step further. You know, there are many things in quantum physics which are blowing people's mind. First of all, at a fundamental level, if something is unreal, if something is not real, then how can all these real things emerge from it? That's one question which, from Niels Bohr, they're struggling to answer. So, okay, Brahman, the consciousness principle, is creating the universe, but how can a tiny little experiment in one tiny little corner of the laboratory bring particles into existence? All these questions are really, now those are big questions which our scientists are tackling. But it is possible to resolve these questions, to get answers to these questions by applying the highest teachings of Advaita Vedanta, namely Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi. So I have done an elaborate analysis of how this can be resolved in my channel, Temples, Books and Science. Due to paucity of time, I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to explain to you how that happens. So if you are interested, you can look up my YouTube channel, Temples, Books and Science. These are the two playlists where I have explained all these concepts in details. FAQ on quantum physics and Vedanta, science and God. That's it from me. Thank you.
I request Ramaswamy ji to go up and make your presentation. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hari Om and good evening to all. Salutations to the Almighty and Guru Parampara, respected Swamiji and all my friends here. I think what has to be covered in this topic is already covered. Probably there's nothing more to add. We'll continue on what Archana ji said, that the tagline for our theme here is science and spirituality and God in every particle with a question mark. That is the tagline given to us. The fundamental principle that is said to be consciousness is established. If that is the fundamental principle having certain phenomenon about it, certain base material about it, how is it that what has come out to our cognition can appear to be something very different? What is described in Vedanta as Sat, Chit, Ananda, Sat being absolute existence, Chit being absolute consciousness, and Ananda being absolute bliss. From our experience point of view, it is quite the opposite. The Chit seems to be like Jada, or inert particle, without any life principle, most of the universe that we see. And Sat, which is an absolute existence, seems to be changing all the time. Ananda, we need not talk at all. Where is the Ananda in our lives? There seems to be only sorrow, or rather it is mixed with joy and sorrow. So what seems to be the basic fundamental principle seems to appear as something very different. Now what is the reason? We do not know. It is termed as Maya in Vedantic parlance. In science also, what Archana ji talked about, the theory of relativity, theory of incompleteness, very, very interestingly, these are all exactly the pointers towards what is called as Maya here. Now, where do you see? Okay. You see a hexagon here, a regular hexagon. A regular hexagon is where all the sides are equal and all the angles are equal. Imagine two lines drawn from the vertices on the top to the bottom like this, and you find that there is, now you can say there are two triangles and a rectangle in between. The properties of the hexagon and the properties of what you see here are quite different. In hexagon, all are obtuse angles equal and all sides are equal. Here it is not the same. You have a rectangle where you have right angles, and you have triangles where there are acute angles. Now where do these angles come from? They were not in the original actually, but they seem to have appeared here. Do we posit a God for this creation? No. Then why does it appear like this? It is exactly that it is. It is an appearance. Now you have to tell why you have created it. Swami Ramatirtha was asked this question as to how do you explain the creation of this phenomenal world. He said, I am seeing Brahman, you are seeing a world, you better explain it. I have no explanation for it. So here, when you see a rectangle accompanied by two triangles, is it really that these are created, or these just appear? It is the same hexagon that appears like this. So it is merely an appearance. We need not posit a God for this. The appearance in technical language is called as Nama Rupa. Nama means name, Rupa means form. On the fundamental building block, a building has been raised which cannot exist without the substratum, and what has been raised is given a name and it is in a particular form. That is why it is called as Nama Rupa. In this name, in this form, you call it two triangles and a rectangle, otherwise it is just a hexagon. It is your imagination that you have drawn true lines, and then you ask to explain how has that come. Actually, it is in your imagination as it is. In science, it is again, having not studied science beyond the school level, it is still an ashcharya for us, or for most of us except the scientists here. I was talking to a professor here. Professor Ghosh and Professor Bakchi used to conduct this quest experiment in the Doordarshan in 80s. It was one of the brilliant programs of Doordarshan. I remember one of the experiments that they did there is that, in a mortar and pestle, you put all the bangles of different color. They had 3 such mortar and pestles and put yellow color bangles in one, red in one, and green in one. They continually kept on crushing it. At the end of it all, everything had only white powder. So that was the question. Don't ask me the answer, sir. I don't remember, but this was the question. But it is an experiment that they very clearly demonstrated that apparently everything is in different color and different form and shape, but ultimately the base, when you crush it, is all one and the same. How it is that it has appeared like that? Nobody can explain. I mean, science can explain it, but why it is so appearing to us, it is phenomenal. It's magic. It's a magic. Ashcharya, says Bhagavad Gita. It's Ashcharya. That is precisely what it is. What we see as an apparent reality here is something like this. In chemistry, we study these allotropes of carbon. There is this charcoal and there is this diamond. It is very difficult for us to believe, even after studying, that both are same, both are carbon. It is only their arrangement of the atomic particles in a certain way that it is appearing as carbon there and charcoal there and diamond here. Completely different properties. You have charcoal which is very dark, very black, diamond which is very bright and brilliant. Charcoal is very soft, that it will leave a mark on a piece of paper if you leave it there. Diamond is very hard, that it can cut through metals. Charcoal is very common. Diamond is very rare and precious. Charcoal is cheap and diamond is expensive. Extremely different properties. But ultimately, what is the difference? The difference is only in Nama Rupa. In one name and one form, you call it charcoal. In another name and another form, you call it diamond. So, exactly the same way, what Vedanta says is, it is Brahman, the only reality, as a pure consciousness, that is the substratum. And so, therefore, what is the world that all of us experience here? It is Nama Rupa. It may not conform to the exact qualities as we imagine of Brahman, but what is appearing to you as this phenomenal universe is nothing but Brahman and Brahman alone. I conclude my opening remarks here. Thank you.
Shall we all close our eyes just for a few moments, interiorize, get into stillness, connect with Paramatman and the great ones. Silently invoke their blessings on this seminar. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So in line with spirituality and science, God in every particle, as the last presentation, this will be on yoga, universal spiritual science. So first of all, greetings to every one of you, our dear Swamiji and all our dear friends from the ashram of Yogoda Satsanga Society of India. OSS. At the outset, we would like to convey our goodwill and best wishes to the organizers, Chinmaya Mission, and congratulate them for their effort to cut across all divisive boundaries, to bring everyone to a common platform under the theme Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. OSS was founded in 1917 by Paramahamsa Yogananda ji. One reason why I feel very happy to participate in this conference is because the aims and ideals of OSS, they include to point out, I am pointing out the mouse, to point out one divine highway to which all paths of true religions, they all lead. What is that? The highway of daily scientific devotional meditation. And then to unite science and religion through realization of the unity of their underlying principles. So you see, there is a beautiful resonance between the theme of the seminar and our organization's aims and ideals. So we will explore today a little bit of this, why we brought yoga into this, and also to take forward what our Archana ji and our esteemed speaker continued, that is material science, how is now discovering more and more the spiritual science. As many of you are aware, our Paramahamsa Yogananda ji that started his seminal classic, spiritual classic, Autobiography of Yogi, with these famous lines. The characteristic features of Indian culture have always been search for ultimate verities and the concomitant guru-disciple relationship. Today, I was very much delighted to see in many of the sessions, the points which were covered, they are exactly there in this book, Autobiography of Yogi. In so many chapters, I was just trying to, when I was trying to connect and then put some markers there. That's why you'll be wondering why I brought the book. It is just to show you that all these points, they were already coming in. So I was very delighted to see that. For example, music, dance, reconciliation of opposites, reconciliation of heart and head, subjectivity and objectivity, science and religion. You see, bringing all this together in so many chapters you will find in the autobiography, that is, you will very much find there. So this search for truth, ultimate verities, by our ancient rishis over many centuries, and our tradition of Guru Shishya Parampara, again that was mentioned in the last session very much, has resulted in discovering Brahma Vidya, the royal science of God realization, which is a kingly contribution of Bharat to the whole world. What is this royal spiritual science of God realization, and how it correlates with current scientific developments? In various fields nowadays we hear, like neuroplasticity, neurocardiology, behavioral sciences, pain management, and also many theories like string theory, or today it was mentioned in the beginning that God particle theory. 2012 in CERN, they discovered that. All of them, they all validating our findings of our rishis, the ancient spiritual science. And at length, Archana ji had dwelt on the quantum physics, how it correlates with the Vedanta. I had written a few points, now they will be redundant. She has already covered so extensively, I don't have to talk about that. So the YouTube references also she had already given, so you can go through that. But I will quote another quantum physicist. Why? Because quantum physics has done a lot to change and improve our understanding of material reality. It has really turned the medieval understanding of the world upside down and has shown that the Western philosophy of life to be inadequate to explain reality as understood by quantum physicists. So I will quote now from the book, The Self-Aware Universe, How Consciousness Creates the Material World, written by an eminent quantum physicist, Dr. Amit Goswami. I am just quoting just only 2 or 3 small portions. Dr. Goswami says, the new physics is crying out for a new liberating philosophy, one befitting our current level of knowledge. For hundreds of years, we have bowed to the objectivity of science, but have cherished subjectivity and religion in our living. We have allowed our lives to become a set of dichotomies. Can we now invite science to help integrate our ways of living and revolutionize our religions? Can we insist that our subjective experiences and spiritual philosophy be allowed to extend our science? We believe that Paramahamsa Yogananda ji has contributed enormously to reconciling these two fields. Firstly, and most importantly, he has elevated the practice of religion from mere belief to personal experience through application of spiritual science, consisting of scientifically expressed and empirically provable and repeatable methods and experiences. Secondly, he has explained in modern language the ancient truths of our Vedas and Sanatana Dharma and made it possible for us to see how much they overlap and even foreshadow many of the modern and recent scientific discoveries. For example, we find enlightening correlations tying spirituality and modern science in chapter 30 of Autobiography of a Yogi, titled The Law of Miracles. After citing a few modern discoveries, such as the dual nature of electron as particle and wave, and the vast empty space of an atom, and quoting eminent scientists of his time, exclaiming how the universe is beginning to look more like a thought, then he concludes, very interesting, 20th century science is thus sounding like a page from the Holy Vedas. From science then, if it must be, let man learn the philosophic truth that there is no material universe. Its warp and woof is Maya, illusion. Under analysis, all its mirages of reality dissolve. Very interesting, no? Over the last several decades, many experiments have proved that, as Archana ji so beautifully explained, double slit experiment and the recent Nobel Prize awarded in 2022. All of them, they are further, more and more, they are establishing this fact. But before we proceed further, little digression. A bit of cautioning that will be apt in taking advantage of the breathtaking discoveries of modern science. For example, it was already covered in the previous session a little bit. The rapid advances in the field of artificial intelligence, AI, like ChatGPT. It offers the opportunity for enormous good by eliminating drudge work or by opening new vistas, also for enormous harm if malign elements create a Frankenstein. This is the challenge to each of us. The need for us to use the power of spirituality to ensure the proper harnessing of AI tools and other modern gadgets for the common good cannot be overemphasized. Okay, back to our topic. It is not just saints like Yogananda ji who are talking about the overlap and shared understanding between science and religion. Scientists themselves have been increasingly noticing and talking about how India's science of spirituality is mirroring and offering keys to explain the new science that they are discovering. Archana ji already covered one point. Professor Brian D. Josephson, very interestingly, what he observed. He got Nobel Prize in Physics 1973. He says, Vedanta and Sankhya hold the key to the law of mind and thought process, which are correlated to the quantum field, that is, operation and distribution of particles in atomic and molecular levels. It seems a little high statement, so I will make it simpler for us to understand what Paramahansa Yogananda says. In the book Divine Romance, in the chapter titled The Why and How of Religion, Yogananda explains, of the 6 principal systems of Hindu philosophy, Darshan Shastra, Sankhya expounds the why of religion. Vedanta describes the end to be attained, and yoga provides the method for that attainment. So clearly explained, isn't it? Together, these concepts constitute true religion, whose twofold purpose is to show man how to avoid suffering and how to contact the bliss of the Supreme One, that lasting happiness which is not conditioned by either painful or pleasant experiences. We really understand life when we understand what is the goal of our life or the end of life through Vedanta, and why religion is needed to achieve that goal, that is by studying Sankhya. And then yoga shows us how we can actually attain that goal. But then, as we have been seeing, the world is a dream or an illusion that we are caught up in, as quantum physics is hinting at, and as the Vedas are pointing out. How do we wake up from this dream and attain the goal of life and benefit from true religion? Is very relevant, isn't it, this question? Because this creation is a structured dream of God. There is a difference between the way we dream and the way God is dreaming the creation. That dream is a structured dream. So if you understand how the infinite has made this creation, then by the reverse process, then we can ascend and get back to divinity, isn't it? So clear cut. Okay, I'll give you one reference. That is the Holy Science by Swami Sri Yukteswarji. This is written by Swami Sri Yukteswarji, Guru of Paramahansa Yogananda ji. It's a very concise book divided into 4 chapters. Based on Sankhya philosophy, it gives a good insight about how the creation has been made out of only ideas emanating from one divine consciousness, or the steps by which the one consciousness divides itself into many, elucidating the well-known statement from the Upanishads, Ekoham Bahusyama. I will pause here and request you to ponder on the thought-provoking quotation by Albert Einstein, which I will be displaying now. What Einstein said, I want to know how God created this world. I am not interested in this phenomena or that phenomena. I want to know his thoughts. The rest are all details. A great scientist is saying that. Aren't we really very inspired to see this correlation? We are trying to link the thought of great scientists with those of spiritually realized souls. Both are talking the same language. The science of yoga not only gives us the roadmap of how that consciousness divides itself into various levels, different rates of vibration, that it becomes first thoughts, then energy, then matter, like that. It just comes step by step. Also, it gives us, more importantly, a scientific method to reverse the process so that through ascension, we can move from human consciousness to divine consciousness, to Brahma Chaitanya. In the last chapter of autobiography, which is like a summary of all the chapters, and from there we can get, in summarized form, capsular form, important things for us to take, use in our daily life. Yogananji tells us, the divine purpose of creation is expounded in the Vedas that taught that each human being has been created by God as a soul, and that all men endowed with a facet of divine individuality are equally dear to God. In a lighter vein, I want to give you one Tamil proverb. Kakekkum tan konju pon konju. That means even for a mother crow, her baby crow is golden. Like that, since God created each one of us, to each one of us, we are very special to God. He loves us all equally. Isn't it so wonderful to think of that? The same chapter, Yogananji assures us, based on the testimony of every saint who was penetrated to the core of reality, that there exists a divine universal plan that is beautiful and full of joy. And in his maiden speech in US soil in 1920, when he was invited to address the Congress of Religious Liberals as a representative of Sanatana Dharma, Paramsa Yogananji clearly reiterates this point, which is there in the book, The Science of Religion. This is another book, small book. These are all very small books. The Science of Religion, where Paramsa Yogananji crisply summarizes Sankhya philosophy. You know, the whole of Sankhya philosophy, instead of going through, you can just get the summary. What is that? The ultimate end, which all other ends merely subserve, is the avoidance of pain and want, and the attainment of permanent bliss. Negatively, avoidance of pain and suffering. Positively, attainment of infinite bliss. This is the science of yoga, which is universal and can be applied by everyone, because firstly, we all have the need to feel that we are loved by the divine, isn't it? All of us. Then to discover our own soul nature and to tune in with the universal plan, and to be free from pain and suffering, and to be unconditionally happy. So this is the common aim, common need for everyone. That's why it's universal. Second, the science of yoga is based on fundamental scientific principles underlying our existence as human beings And so it works for people of all countries and all religions. This is a contribution of Sanatana Dharma, which is the Sanatana Dharma which unites all religions of all the world, whole world. That is why Bhagavan Krishna extols in the Bhagavad Gita about yoga. Tapasvibhyo adhiko yogi, jnanibhyopi matodikaha, karmibhyaschadiko yogi, tasmat yogi bhavarjuna. That is, the yogi is greater than body disciplining ascetics or even the followers of path of wisdom or the path of action. Be thou a yogi. The Bhagavad Gita is considered Brahma Vidya and Yoga Sastra. It focuses on the principles of yoga for attaining Brahma Vidya, that is, the knowledge of getting back to the Creator. Yogananji encourages each one of us in his commentary called God Talks with Arjuna. It is in 2 volumes. That yoga is easy to practice and confers imperishable enlightenment. But this pursuit of our own individual divinity is not just for our own happiness. It is intimately linked with the plan for peace for the world. Swami Chidananji, our president of our ashram, our society, recently observed in a satsang at Mumbai a couple of years before. We are all children of God, and we should live in that harmony, in that peace. As more and more people make the effort to experience God within, only then will we gain the ability to perceive the divine spark, the divine essence, that presence of God in all other souls. Interestingly, scriptures of all religions, they all tell us clearly that only by turning within we can have real experience of God. For example, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ishvaraha sarva bhutanam hriddeshe Arjuna tishtati. Then, in the Lalita Sahasranama, we see, Antaramukha samaradhya bahirmukha sudurlabha. Then we have in the Holy Bible, the kingdom of God is within you. Then in the Holy Quran, remember your Lord within yourself. Now you see, all are telling the same thing. That means we have to turn within. And once we find God within, then we'll find the same God in everyone and every creature. Then we'll be able to realize, like Bhagavan Krishna says, Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvancha mai pashyati. We'll be able to see everywhere God, and in God we see everything. So today's topic of God in every particle, it comes out so wonderfully, isn't it? So what we need to do then? We need to emphasize scientific spirituality or applying scientific principles in spirituality and understand that each of us, we have a unique role to play because God Himself created the variety. At the same time, we have a common purpose of world peace. See, the paradox, they are connected together. So as we apply this universal spiritual science in our daily lives, through regular practice, we will realize the ancient ideal of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. World is one family. And then finally, as we go on applying, we will also join with great Adi Shankaracharya in proclaiming what? Swadesho Bhuvanatrayam. My native land is all the 3 worlds, not just only this world, all the 3 worlds. That is my native land. So we'll be able to proclaim along with Adi Shankaracharya through our experience. So I will just close with a prayer by Paramahansa Yogananda ji for all of us. Paramahansa Yogananda ji inspires us to pray in our hearts for a league of souls and a united world. Though we may seem divided by race, creed, color, class, and political prejudices, still, as children of the one God, we are able in our souls to feel brotherhood and world unity. May we work for for the creation of a united world in which every nation will be a useful part, guided by God through man's enlightened conscience. So let us again close our eyes, give silent thanks to Paramatman and all the great ones for bringing us all together for this wonderful seminar where souls from with the different specializations, all of them are pointing out how India can contribute to the welfare of the world. So let us thank silently just for a few moments. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
I am sure you have no questions. If question exists, you exist. You become real. Are you real? Ask me an unreal question.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
go
a
ahead.
difficult one. You've been talking about looking inwards, looking inside. Can you explain how to do that?
To who is this question addressed?
Anybody can take it up.
Whoever wants
Thank
to take
you.
it up.
I'm repeating the question. You are asking how do we turn inwards to see inside?
Yes.
Close your eyes and what you see is inside. As simple as that. This inside and outside is an illusory creation, right? See, suppose on the screen, if it is a blank screen, you draw a circle, okay? Now, if I ask you what is outside the circle, what is that? It is the screen. And what is there inside the circle? It is the screen. So if I ask you, when did the screen come inside the circle? Screen never came inside the circle. It is the circle which came inside the screen, right? So the circle is an illusory creation which has created this inside and outside. So as such, from a practical point of view, if you want to say that I want to go inside, it is turning your mind inwards, right? Instead of pursuing the happiness from the apparent worldly objects outside, what is the root cause and where do I, let us say, position my thoughts and how do I refine them? If this thought process is a change that we will do, that is turning the mind inwards. And that is where all the practices, which is karma and yoga and bhakti, all these aid us in turning this inside. Essentially, it is the knowledge which makes us see that there is something to be pursued inside. So based on that, all the other practices help into this.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. Looking within starts with what Ramaswamy said. It's the search that itself will slowly turn you within. Maybe 5 minutes towards the end of the day, you do self-introspection. Sit quietly and introspect. How was your day? How it could improve? What happened? Is there a room for improvement? Start with introspection. And eventually this introspection will lead to more questions. What am I doing? Why am I here? What is happening to my life? Where am I heading? These questions are subjective questions. Eventually, this kind of introspection would lead to a question called, who am I? Why am I? Or what am I? Once the introspection leads you to these questions, you are looking within. We have 3 minutes more, so 2 questions.
My question is to Archana ji, like when she was showing the presentation, it was written there also, and she said that the observer creates the universe. But actually Vedanta says that it's all due to Maya that we see the universe actually doesn't exist. So isn't there a contradiction over there?
So when you say you create the dream and dream is an illusion, there is no contradiction in both the statements, right? What is a dream? Is it real? As long as you're seeing it, it's real. When you wake up, you realize it's Maya. That is what is the universe. There is no contradiction between observer creating the universe and universe being unreal. Anything, in fact, physics itself, why does it conclude that the universe is not real? It has clear definition on when, physics itself defines when something is considered real. It has to have 2 properties. It has to, one property is called locality. Only when you touch something, you can change it. Some force has to touch something to change it. So just by telepathy, you can't change anything. Second is called reality. Something should exist outside of your mind. See, I'm seeing all of you now. I go to sleep in the night and I dream of all of you. The dream you is not real and this is real. That's what we think, right? Things should exist outside of my mind. So what physics has proven is both these properties at a fundamental level, universe does not possess. Neither locality nor reality. So that is why it's called universe is said to be locally not real.
Last question, if at all, if there is any. No issues? There's a hand going up. Oh yeah, please go ahead. To who is this question?
The God's particle, the power of attraction.
To who are you asking this question?
Anyone.
What is the question?
The God particle, the discovery of the God particle.
Archana, take it up.
Okay, Higgs boson is called God's particle. Actually, many people are thinking that it is a particle which is made up of God, but actually it came from the scientists swearing. They were unable to discover it, so they called it the God damn it particle, and it became God particle. So what is Higgs boson, which is generally referred to as God's particle, is if the whole universe is only energy, pure energy, whatever photons of light is made of, the same thing only the atoms and particles are made of. So how come atoms have a mass, have a concrete mass, whereas other things, other forms of energy like light does not have a mass? So it was theorized that there is a particular set of particle called Higgs boson, which is termed as Higgs boson, which gives mass to substances, and it is like just like light flows in the electromagnetic field. These particles are attracted by a boson field, a Higgs boson field, and that's what gives this power of things falling down and mass. Things acquire mass because of those particles. And although it was theorized, I think for nearly 50 years they could not find it. They knew it had to exist and they could not find it, and finally they found it, and finally Mr. Higgs, who theorized it, after 50 years he won the Nobel Prize because it was finally discovered. So the God particle is more like, it was more like a swearing which these scientists used to do because they could not find it. It is an acronym for that swearing, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah?
Thank you, Archana. I said last question. 3 hands went up. Just one question. Okay.
Yeah, here's Swami.
Yeah. Please tell to who are you addressing the question?
To anyone, thank you.
Albert Einstein asked that, why did God create mankind? Sorry, how did God create mankind? My question is, why did God create mankind?
Find out. To find out. See, I was not joking, okay? Somebody went to a master and asked, what is the purpose of the creation? Or what is the purpose of life? To this question, the most simple and the best answer I ever read was what this master said. It's just an anecdote. The master said, find out, keep that as your purpose. What is the purpose of life? Find out what can be the purpose of life. Start the search there.
Has anyone found out?
There are many people who must have found out. I have come across few people who I know certainly found out, but it ends with faith of the person. So you can't prove. Someone who has understood it cannot prove. You can understand it only when you get there. It is like waking up from a dream. When you wake up from a dream, you know you have woken up from a dream. Similarly, when you wake up from here, only you will know that you have woken up.
So I understand when you say that I need to reach that level to be able to comprehend it. But my question is, since everything is scriptured and available to everybody else, why isn't this answer also available?
No. Why is the answer weird?
Too much.
No. Place it,
Swamiji,
repeat the question again.
She means that if the data is available to everybody, if the data is available, why the answer is not available to everybody?
Because the whole thing is a search within. Only that person who goes within, he finds out or she finds out. Then there will be a complete struggle for that individual to express to a non-existent world. And yet, there were so many compassionate masters who have experienced that, took it on themselves to try and tell that which cannot be told. It is like huge Ganesha traveling on a tiny mouse. You understand? On a tiny mouse, a huge elephant rides a tiny mouse. It is like that. That truth, if one has to express it out through words, it would be next to impossible. Yet, whatever can take the intellect to that closest point is beautifully written down, and those are our scriptures.
Thank you, that is very satisfying.
We will be winding up. Archana, I have a question. I have seen these two movies which would help many of you if you are interested in studying quantum physics or to understand the basics. I think 15 years must be now. I saw a movie called What the Bleep Do We Know? And then there was another movie, almost like a part 2 to it, called Down the Rabbit Hole. Are there movies like this in quantum physics? I mean, these were talking about quantum physics. If there are some movies with this theme, we would be more, and it will be more easy for us to watch that and learn.
Actually, more than quantum physics, on Vedanta, there are very interesting movies. Like Matrix, have you seen the Matrix?
Vedanta we have, there's plenty, right?
But on quantum physics, I'm not sure, I've not.
Okay, you should watch these two movies. What the bleep do we know? Please note down. What the bleep do we know? Down the rabbit hole. These two movies will give you an insight into what the quantum physics talks about and what the Vedanta says. In the final analysis, observer is the absolute truth. Quantum physics say that, Vedanta says that. In the final analysis, imagine the word final. In the final analysis, what is absolute? Observer is the absolute, what you call a sakshi. So, what Vedanta claims as the final statement and what quantum physics makes it as in the final analysis, the statements indicate the same. In the final analysis, the absolute is the observer. It was nice having all of you here. Thank you so much for coming. Swamiji Pranam, Ramaswamy and Archana. We definitely appreciate your time and thanks for enlightening all of us. Thank you very much. We have come to the last part of our program. Any announcements left? Yeah. I thank Chinmaya Mission, Kolkata, all the members here. I called them over a phone and said, Government of India has given us this responsibility in taking up these conferences across India, and I thought on the eastern side, Kolkata should take up. And they all replied back saying, yes, we can do this. Thank you very much, Chinmaya Mission, Kolkata, for organizing this Jnana Yajna, where we could discuss and entire discussion, entire questions are videoed. We will cull out the best of it and combine them for recommendations, compile them for recommendations and pass it to Government of India. So I once again thank everyone present here. Thank you very much. Over to Nirav.
Thank you, Swamiji, for sharing with us why we are all gathered here today. The thought and the vision behind this ancient message of oneness to remodel the idea of globalization. This day would not have happened without the selfless participation of all our speakers and moderators who took time out from the hectic schedules, some who took time out and were with us for the whole day. Thank you, esteemed speakers and moderators. We would like to convey our heartfelt thanks to our guest of honor, Shri R.S. Goenkaji, who has been the pillar of encouragement behind the conference, driving our lead advisory partners, the Imami Group team, who have worked and brainstormed alongside us from the very start to scale the conference to the level we have experienced today. Thank you, Imami team. We would like to thank Dr. Partha Ghosh, who was with us here the whole day and having taken his precious time and spent along with us. Thank you, sir. We would like to convey our humble thanks to our hospitality partners, Hyatt Regency, Kolkata, and the Saraf family, who have been gracious to facilitate the hosting of this conference and made sure that the experience of the conference remains memorable for all our outstation speakers and for all those who attended today's program. Thank you, Team Hyatt. Our valuable sponsors, Century Ply, Supertron, TNI Global, and all our donors for their wholehearted contribution in ensuring the success of the conference, in reaching out to so many people who attended today's conference. the recordings of which will always be available online. Thank you so much for your generous facilitation. Last but not the least, all the volunteers who in true selfless yagna spirit, in the spirit of national service and global good, have contributed their precious time and resources in reaching out and putting in all their best efforts in delivering the motto of the mission, to give maximum happiness to the maximum people for the maximum time. Thank you all. We now request our resident in charge, Brahmachari Divakar Chaitanyaji, to conclude the day's proceedings with the concluding prayer, followed by the national anthem.
Okay. We will be playing national anthem. This will be a very unique thing. You will have a visual delight of other citizens of Bharat. They also live here and they also have a right. So when the national anthem is played, please rise up and watch the Spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, you will see. And after that, we will have the concluding prayer.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय आविराविर्मयेधे ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्